Hey folks, so I'm in the garage of my apartment, and yes, my current apartment does have a garage, and I have a few things here I put for propagating. It's summertime, things aren't being maintained as well, or it's a little too hot for some plants, but nevertheless, I have this Ceropegia woodi and a Ceropegia linearis, string of hearts and string of needles. And I'm going to be planting them in these two wall-mounted planters which I macramed. And I did a two-tone color, and I have them alternating, like in reverse. Here I have the gray spine, here I have the teal, here I have the teal edge, here I have the gray edge. And, I made these with this color scheme as a tribute to the original Bondi Blue colored iMac that came with a G3 processor and was released back in 1998. So anyway, I'm going to be planting these in those pots and then hanging them on the wall, and we'll see how they look. I already filled these with a little bit of soil, and this is a soil about a 40% perlite mix. It's a mix I use for succulents with 40 to 50%. I have a video about a simple succulent mix, but it will work well for these because if you're like me who tends to overwater plants, this will help them evaporate faster, because wall-mounted planters are kind of funny. They're more likely to be neglected, but then I get the ones without drainage holes, and that helps them retain moisture, but then if I ever overwater, I worry. But these plants are going to be okay here, and being nice, long, trailing plants, this one I had to untangle, and this one I started to untangle, but being nice long trailing plants, they should look nice hanging on the wall coming out of these. So to start, I'm going to take this, and I hope it's root bound. I bought this a while back from nursery, and it's become even longer since then. Okay, if you have trouble pulling it up, you can always try to push it from below. But this one seems to be giving me, okay, it's coming. I'm going to actually put this in here to save any soil I can. And if anything blows on or comes on there, you can always blow on it, just lightly. So I have this hanging here, and I can spread it out. These are all tangled, which I started to untangle, but I haven't fully untangled. And sometimes these can be a pain to untangle. But since I started to, it's fine. And then make this a little more spread out. And I can add a little more soil. And I can just dump some lightly here to the back. I can push this up and dump some to the side. I really need a spoon, but I can also use my hands. So I am going to use my hands a little bit. I'm going to have a lot of sweeping to do. Blow what comes on there so it doesn't sit and stain that. Although what I like about this cording is that it's synthetic fabric, so it does really well if you get a little water on it or something, because what's nice about it is it cleans well. So it's a nice fabric to use, even though it's not as stylish per se as cotton cording is. But you don't want to overfill this, so when you water, it's going to look okay, but I do want to make sure this is going to be a little to the back and hang down nicely, like that. There we go. It doesn't have to be overly filled, even though the hole is above the height, which is great, but I'm going to blow a little bit and make sure it's well, and I'll water it after I hang it up. But there we go. That's one. Now this one is in a bigger pot, which is going to make a bigger mess. and I don't think it's root bound. These pots are great. They're Siggy containers and they fit perfectly into the standard mug. Oh, I broke one. So I can propagate this one that I broke. So anyway, let me pull this out. First thing, it's good to have a discard container. There we go, came out. I had a layer of perlite underneath. Let's see, this is too thick. Oh, perfect. Now if I only didn't break that one, it would be good. But this one I'll just propagate. I did want to propagate these anyway, but I'll worry about that later. And that's a simple way to blow these off. But these, no matter how hard you untangle, they retangle. Now the string's gonna look a little anemic with that one broken off. But you see, that's the problem. The string of hearts gets tangled, or is harder to untangle than the string of needles. Oh, okay. There we go. I'll let that hang down, then it'll be easier to untangle. And this is actually, breaking this is actually a blessing in disguise, because I can actually stick it elsewhere in the pot so the pot looks fuller. But this is tangled, but I already released the other one. It's just such a menace to untangle. I don't know what the fascination is with string of hearts sometimes because of that. I call it string of tangles, because of that reason, that it tangles up really easily. Look at this. It's there we go, untangled. Now I have this one here. If I can untangle it as well. You guys hear the train in the background? Okay, so there we go, or not. Wow. Okay, this is still tangled at the end, but I can stick this in here and just let it propagate on its own. But first I need to add more soil. So, looking at this, I'm going to stick this over here and just pour some soil back there and just let it sit. This one I'm going to press down just a little so it doesn't fall out, but it probably will until we're done. But there we go. Just add to the other side. You guys are seeing my entire arm there. Okay. And this will eventually compact. I have some weird thing there. I think it's a big root ball from the string of hearts or something there. So now that I have these, I can go ahead and get them hung. There is this bare wall with light coming in from behind or in front of it from that direction, straight where you would be if you were standing here viewing firsthand. And I have these brackets which puts the nail at a 45-degree angle and has a little hook, so that's going to keep the key ring hanging at the top of the macrame. positioned just right. So I'm going to have one hanging way up there. And I got part of the wall just a little bit, but no big deal. What's nice about these is I can move them around and I don't really have too much scuffs in the wall. And I'm going to hang the other one a little lower. And offset it a little more. And that can be just, any scuffs can be wiped off a little bit with a moist rag. So now let's get these hung. So now I'm going to hang one on one side, like so. The other one on the other side, like so. But the string of hearts actually hangs down a lot further, and I'll probably be cutting off this tassel. I left it to see how it looks, but I might remove it so the two will match. But I'm actually going to switch them because the string of hearts is a little bit longer than the string of needles. And I'm going to adjust the macrame a little bit for now. I'll probably cut those out eventually. But here we go. Now I get to water them. And I'll be keeping an eye out on the string of hearts, which is still not fully untangled. And, oh, there we go, almost. And keep an eye on it. But what's nice about this design here is that it's a little like wider but flatter than some of the other macrames that I made like this. So it will actually fit behind this door when the door is wide open without crushing that. And because these two strings of the Ceropegias will come down versus sticking out, they won't be crushed as well. And this one here has less growing media than the other one. I have a little too much because of the way it was planted in a much bigger pot to begin with, but that's okay. I'm not going to worry too much about it. But I do want to give it a really good watering to start. And it gets plenty of bright diffuse light throughout the day, so I'll be keeping an eye on them, see and make sure that they're happy over here. If not, I'll have to move them. But I hope you enjoyed this video and are inspired with your own wall-mounted macrame. Now, before we end the video, I'm going to slowly drop this and show you the length of it. Whoops. So there you go. Well, thanks for watching. Happy planting, and make sure you subscribe.